Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to the next movie review and back to reviewing the Transformers films. So now we get to reviewing the third film. Oh, by the way, give me a second, I'm just doing something on my phone right now. Yeah, I know, I should have done this before, before the video. Okay, yeah, sorry. But anyway, back to reviewing the Transformers films. Now we're getting to the third film, Transformers: Darker the Moon, released in 2011. And I gotta say right off the bat, the title "Dark of the Moon" sounds stupid to me. It does. I mean, they can't use "Dark Side of the Moon." I think if they said "Dark Side of the Moon," which it sounds more of a fitting title though, because "Dark of the Moon" sounds stupid, but "Dark Side of the Moon" sounds better. But they can't do that because I think it was a Pink Floyd album, so they couldn't use that. I guess. Although I heard that, and it sounded better, when it was like, in the song "I'll Make a Man Out of You" from Mulan, right? It's like mysterious as the dark side of the moon. So yeah, but to me, I think that sounds better, "Dark Side of the Moon," but they couldn't do that, so they had to go with "Dark of the Moon," which sounds like you missed your grammar. You can't say your grammars properly, right? Anyway, but that's one thing though. But and the film came out once again directed by Michael Bay, and the film was once again bigger than the last one. This one made over 1 billion worldwide, 1,124 or some million worldwide, I think. It's the highest grossing one of the franchise. It still is. The fourth film made $1 billion, but it's a bit below. But this one is still the highest grossing one of the franchise. And and the reception was a tad bit better, like compared to like the second film. Like the second film had a 19% of Rotten Tomatoes. This one has about a 35% of Rotten Tomatoes. So it was a bit better, but still not much though. So critics were still a tad bit negative, but not overall panning the film compared to the second film they did. But despite all that, the film was still nominated for Razzies. The film was still nominated for Golden Razzies. Like, let's see here. All right, so it was like nominated for, once again. It was nominated for Best Picture. It was, which granted they didn't win this time. Like the second film won 3 Razzies for Worst Director, Worst Picture, and Worst Screenplay. But it was nominated for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Razzies this time, but it didn't win though. It was nominated for Best Picture, Worst Director, Worst Supporting Actor, Patrick Dempsey. Also Worst Supporting Actor, Ken Jeong. Yeah, of course. Worst Supporting Actress, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. Worst Screenplay, Worst Screen Couple, Shia LaBeouf and Rosie. I always call her Rosie. I keep saying her full name. And for Worst Screen Ensemble. Pretty much the whole cast. So, yeah. But on the flip side, it did get nominated for 3 Oscars, to be perfectly fair. For Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and for Best Visual Effects. So at least it got some positive nominations on that front. But the Razzies outweigh more than the Oscar nods, so. But like I said, the film made over 1 billion worldwide. It's still the highest one. Now, the film did fail to surpass the second film for the most money in the U.S., though, because this made over like 350 some million in the U.S., while the second film made over 400 million in the U.S. So this still is the highest grossing one in the U.S. for this film. The second film did. And I strongly disagree with this person from ABC TV Minneapolis. Best action movie ever. No. I've seen. Yeah, granted, it's on a bigger budget scale, though, but it's the best action movie ever? No, it's not. I've watched other action films I've enjoyed from the years. I thought I might have action better than this, though. Yeah, I know it's not on the same big budget scale. I know that though, but to me, I've seen there are much action films I've seen. I call much better action films I've seen than this. So, beside that, once again, most of the cast comes back once again. Shia LaBeouf, Josh Duhamel, John Turturro, Tyrese Gibson, Kevin Dunn, Julie White as the parents. They come back. By this time, Sam has a new girlfriend, character named Carly, played by Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. But I always call her Rosie. I don't have to say her full name because the reason why Megan Fox didn't return because there was an interview where she she called Michael Bay Hitler. That's because he was like a dictator, how the way he was directing, which that's how the way Michael Bay operates. It's like in the same way with director Stanley Kubrick, how the way he wants his films made, right? Take The Shining for example. How much hell he put through Shelley Duvall, right? Shelley Duvall pretty much said the same thing. Well, he didn't call her Hitler, but she went through a lot of stress to the point of losing her hair due to Stanley Kubrick's filmmaking. So the way Michael Bay was kind of like that though, but this time but Megan Fox one will call Michael Bay Hitler. That's why Steven Spielberg, who was still the executive producer on this, basically, you're done. You're shit canned out of here, basically. Which, yeah, granted though, Steven Spielberg she wasn't talking to Steven Spielberg, was talking to Michael Bay, but still Steven Spielberg shit canned her though. Which I guess that one part I do agree with, because that's like one of the few things that Steven Spielberg did right though, because if I had to see Megan Fox in another Transformers film, I was gonna lose it because I was getting sick and tired of seeing her ass. I was. But did this actress did any better? No, because she still sucked. This new girl still sucked. And what has she done after this? The last time I saw her, she was in Mad Max Fury Road. She was like one of Joe's wives. I think she was the one that was pregnant and she fell out of the car and died. I think that was her. I'm positive. Yeah, I'm pretty positive it was. What else has she done after that? Probably nothing. That's the last time I saw her win. So, but she still sucked in this one. She didn't bring anything new, except to once again just to look hot. That's the thing. You can't just rely on your pretty looks to make your way through acting, right? You need to act. You need to show you have talent. Not just there to be a hot bombshell. So this new character Carly, she sucked, but she's with Sam now, and now Sam has a wheelie from the previous film, the one who was humping Megan Fox's leg. He's now good, and there's another new little one named Brains, and so now he's out, and Sam now is off to find a job. Which I'm like, point taken, like, he's helped save the world twice, and he can't find a job? I mean, do people, like, the people government, oh, this kid who helped save the world twice, right? Let's find him a job. No, despite all that, he still can't find a job. So he's struggling to find a job. The parents, Kevin Dunn and Julie White, they're barely in this movie. They're like, what, for like couple 1-2 scenes, and that's it. So yeah, Kevin Dunn. I mean, I like Kevin Dunn. I mean, Julie White, she was awful in the last one because she was getting high on pot brownies, running around wildly while high. So, but they're barely in this. And once again, Tyrese Gibson and Josh Duhamel, they're in it, but they're also given little to do as well though, except for like with Tyrese Gibson was with Shia, because he helps Shia out, and him and his team, they're on the building and stuff right when it's tilting out. But as they hardly don't do much at all overall, I would say. So, and then John Turturro, he's now like this. He wrote a new book, and he has his assistant with him, played by Alan Tudyk. Tucker from Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Alan Tudyk. I think now he plays he's Russian, and I think he is. He's talking with an accent, which I'm sorry. I don't buy him with an accent. I don't buy him. Like, I buy him like when he's talking like a hillbilly, like in Tucker vs. Evil. I love Tucker vs. Evil. I think it's an underrated horror comedy film. I love Tucker vs. Evil. He was funny and he was great in that movie. And he's done other voice works as well. He voiced Sonny from iRobot. He's done other voice work, and I like him. I like a film. So Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball. I like Alan Tudyk, but I just don't buy him with this Russian accent that I think he's portraying. But he's John Turturro's assistant, um, and while this is going on, okay, like I said, it's each new film they come with these new ideas they just pull out of their ass because it's like they don't these things don't get mentioned beforehand. Like the Autobots like know this stuff and they don't mention this stuff beforehand. So it's like during the time when John F. Kennedy was on office, right? When he was president, and the time when we went to the moon, right? Well, they said there was this UFO that landed on the moon, and this was basically wanted us to go to the moon because we need to beat the Russians before they get their hands on this stuff, right? So this is the reason why we went to the moon because of an alien UFO landing on the moon. So there's a reason why we went to the moon. So Apollo 11, they land on the moon, they find they find the alien ships and stuff, and that's where the led to like the remains of Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime was kind of like their was like the leader. I think she was like the original leader of the Autobots. I think. And Sentinel Prime, he's voiced by the late Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy, Spock from Star Trek, which previously Leonard Nimoy he voiced in the original '80s animated Transformers films. Now, I said before, I am not a fan of the original animated '80s film. I am not. I know, shame on me. I know. It's a matter of opinion, though. To me, I think the original Transformers animated film from the 80s, I think it's overrated. And some of the characters you do like, they get killed off. And the other human characters I don't care about. And the one character, I think it was voiced by Judd Nelson, his stupid ass ends up getting Optimus Prime killed. I like Judd Nelson, though, like from Breakfast Club and so forth, though. But just like, his character, I hate his character. He ends up the one getting Optimus Prime killed. So all these guys are badass, and they mostly get killed off, including Optimus Prime, because this Judd Nelson's character's stupid ass. I mean, Leonard Nimoy, it was if I were to quickly say pauses for the original animated film, I do like the animation. It gives that nostalgic feel of the animation from back then. I do like Leonard Nimoy's voice. Peter Cullen, who voiced Optimus Prime from back then, he did fine back then as well. I like Judd Nelson, though, but I hate his character. But overall, I'm not a fan of the original animated film. I'm sorry. I cannot lie and jump on the bandwagon with everyone who loves that film. I'm not. Okay? I'm always honest, okay? I just don't think it's not as spectacular as people thought it was back then, you know? To me, it's not. To me, it's an overrated movie. In my opinion. I'm not here to change your opinion about it. It's my opinion. So anyway, back on track, you know, because was Leonard Nimoy he voiced in that film. That was one of the pauses, like I say. It was nice to hear him that. And here it's nice to hear Leonard Nimoy's voice in this, you know. Rest in peace to Leonard Nimoy. He voices Sentinel Prime. I think that the face of Sentinel Prime, they modeled the face after the late Sean Connery, which I could see. Like as when they see Sentinel Prime's face, it does like they did modeled after Sean Connery. It's like Sean Connery, but with Leonard Nimoy's voice. Sean Connery's face with Leonard Nimoy's voice. So, Frances McDormand, you know, from Fargo and Darkman, who's a good actress. Frances McDormand, like famously starting from Fargo, but like I said, she's also in Darkman with Liam Neeson. She's like the head of like the new, not Secret Service, but Defense, I think. Humans have covered this up about the whole alien thing from decades from back then, and Optimus Prime is mad because they lied to them about this stuff. And you do get cameos from the real life astronauts like Buzz Aldrin. So he has a cameo as playing as himself. Yeah, real life astronaut Buzz Aldrin. So, and then while it's going on, Shia LaBeouf, he finally managed to get a job, and he's working for John Malkovich. Yeah. And John Malkovich, another good actor, right? But here, he was just goofy as shit, you know? I mean, his acting in this was just like, I don't know what to say, it's not cringeworthy, it wasn't. But it's like, he was like, underplaying, like, he knows he's playing a goofy character, but he does it very casually, I probably say. I don't know how to describe it, though. Maybe he was casually being goofy, I don't know. But he shows Shia this picture, like how he's a kung fu master, which I don't buy him at all. I don't buy him as a kung fu master. And it's like how he's interviewing Shia LaBeouf, and he sees this one worker who, I guess, she has like a red cup work on the yellow floor. They're on the yellow floor, or was it the red floor? It's either vice versa. Like the red cup or the yellow cup, it's on the wrong floor, and he's like this. He's like, "Stop it." It's like he's acting goofy like that. Though it's just like he's saying it very casually. I think it was. So, but Shia LaBeouf gets hired by him, and hey, and he's like now he's the mail delivery boy, and I guess people are giving him crap though. Oh, but then walks in his girlfriend. Oh, since now he has a hot girlfriend. Okay, he's all right now. Yeah, so if you're doing crap at your job and people are getting you crap for it, oh, have your hot girlfriend show up. Oh, now you're okay now because you have a hot girlfriend to show off how hot she is, how the way she's walking in, the way she's dressed, the way how she's talking to him, deliberately getting the people around there. Oh, I guess the guys are saying oh, you're okay now because your girlfriend's hot, and that's what it takes for you to get a job. Wow, if you ever have a hot girlfriend, please bring her to your work so you can make it easy for yourself. And then you got Ken Jeong. Ken Jeong from the Hangover movies, among many others. I mean, he was fine in the first Hangover, but the sequel sucked. I don't like the first Hangover, but the sequel 2 and 3 sucked. Here, he sucked in this. Once again, the cringe-inducing humor in this film has, just like the previous film. So, the Decepticons, they're secretly killing off people. They're like kind of like the mafia. They're making their hits. Making hits on these people. They're killing people who knew about the secret from the Apollo 11 mission. They're secretly killing off people who knew about that stuff. So Ken Jeong, he knows about this stuff. So, but the thing is though, the humor. Oh, because he takes Shia LaBeouf into the bathroom. Two of them in the same stall, right? And now Ken Jeong, he's pulling down his pants, right? But he has to give him the papers to give to Shia LaBeouf about the stuff, right? And then John Malkovich walks in, and he sees them both in the bathroom. Ken Jeong in his underwear, pants down, and looks like he assumes that they're doing each other in the bathroom, and then he just thinks nothing of it, like it's normal. But then that one Decepticon, I forget what the name of the Decepticon was. At least there's so many of these Decepticons, it's hard to keep track of who's who. But eventually, and then he pulls out two guns, like it's funny, because Ken Jeong, and he pulls out two guns, right? But eventually, the Decepticon tosses him out the window, and he falls to his death. Then the Decepticon makes a mess of the office. He sends John Malkovich flying, doesn't kill him. Then finds out that now Shia LaBeouf has to go once again to John Turturro, talk about this stuff, and John Malkovich, he appears for one more scene to give info more on Ken Jeong's character, and then he leaves, and that's the last we see of him. So yeah, that's the last you see of goofy ass John Malkovich, which I'm like, he's a great actor, but thanks, but bye bye. I don't need to see any more of you. But it's funny. He just abruptly leaves. he leaves like that, and you just don't see him again. I just thought this is kind of weird. I'm like, after this all stuff all said and done, when Charlie goes back to work, and now him and John Malkovich, they're like, you don't see them like as best buddies, because they work together, But whatever. So they need to find out, because now there's this new thing. Like I said, for the first film was the Allspark. The second film was this Matrix of Leadership, and now it's this new thing called the Arc. It's now because it's these beams. Now also they have these beams like this. These Autobots don't know. Like I said, probably because they kept stuff from them, but they should know the stuff though about their world. But they have these beams. They can teleport other Decepticons who were also hiding in the moon. Thankfully they hid themselves in the moon by burying themselves so far deep in the moon. But these devices can transfer them from the moon to down to Earth instantly. And which one thing leads to another, which by this time John Turturro, he gets injured, he's in a wheelchair, and so they're causing havoc, and one thing leads to another. It's like I'm catching my breath here because, like I said, this is 2.5 hours long. Can't think of. I just gotta take deep breaths here. See, this film series are wearing me out, Because these films should not be that long at all. God, that's a problem. That's a problem with these movies. These shouldn't be over. The first film was under 2 hours, barely under 2.5 hours. But these sequels just kept getting longer and longer. And that's why I'm going all over the place again. Once again, now granted, this one wasn't as all over as the second film was. But they tell the Autobots, get on this rocket, get out, and that's that, right? Oh, and Tyrese comes in because he was working. He was kind of like retired from being a soldier, but they blow up the rocket. They assume the Autobots are dead. And Shia LaBeouf, he was kind of very nonchalant. He was kind of looking very nonchalantly when the rockets blew up and they thought the Autobots are dead. He was kind of looking like this. Kind of like that. Even when he was before Optimus left, right, he was giving some advice, and he was kind of like the same thing. Same expression. And he's looking, and then binoculars, and then like this, and like, I mean, these have been your friends for a long time. You're kind of think you can show a little bit of emotion if you assume they died. Oh, and by the time, I got to mention Patrick Dempsey, who I like Patrick Dempsey as an actor. I mean, I liked him in Scream 3. To me, that's the most underrated of the series. It's too bad he didn't come back they didn't bring him back in the new one, which, like I said, they don't need to make any new ones though. But people were assuming that for the new one, they assumed that because in the third film, he was kind of have that chemistry between him and Neve Campbell, right? So people assumed that they were going to bring him back for that because they were kind of together, Hopefully they did, but that's not the case. He's not coming back though. But like I said, they don't need to make any more Scream movies anyway. But I like Patrick Dempsey as an actor. I liked him. I liked him recently in the horror film that came out a couple of years ago from the Grindhouse films on Thanksgiving. I liked him in that. I don't watch his show Grey's Anatomy because I never had no interest at all. Never had, never will. But I assume that Patrick Dempsey was never that bad in that show though. But Patrick Dempsey, he's a good actor though. He was doing what he can and given what he had to do. He plays as Rosie's boss, but it turns out he's a villain because he's been working with the Decepticons, and so he's in league with them because he wants to live. He'd rather be a slave to Decepticons rather than being dead. So after they assume the Autobots are dead, then the Decepticons they wreak havoc in Chicago. And that's why I thought it was like I said. They said the second film would be more darker, which it wasn't. I do kind of see the little bit elements of the little darkness in this film, because when they went to Chicago, they just started the Decepticons. They just started killing people left and right and like disintegrating people, it was kind of like in a way they were disintegrate people, like how the way the aliens were in the 2005 remake of Spielberg's War of the Worlds. You know how they were disintegrate people, leaving nothing left but the clothes, but their clothes, right? It was kind of like seeing the same thing in that when people are getting zapped. I was like, okay, that is a little bit of a dark turn. How the way they're killing people. You see a lot of innocent people getting killed, and they're just being like zapped, disintegrate. I think nothing but the clothes. Like same thing from War of the Worlds. And by the way, this is by the time we get to Chicago, this is like the last hour of the movie. Man. And like I said, they disappear for a good chunk of the film, the Autobots. Like, they're called Transformers, but like I said, it's focusing more on the human characters, more on the actual Autobots. And as I said before, that's one thing I liked. That's one thing I liked about the animated Transformers 1 movie, because it's only about the robots, no human characters, because it's on their planet. So that was one of the things I liked about the new animated film. So, but now Central, and by this time Central Prime, he betrayed. He betrayed. It turns out it was a setup, right? Because Central Prime made a deal with Megatron. You know that to help each other to bring down their home, their planet, Cybertron. We can make these humans their slaves and make them work, and bring down Cybertron. And he like Central Prime, he oversees it, but Megatron wants to rule it, be the leader. So Central Prime, Leonard Nimoy, he betrays Optimus Prime. He kills Ironhide, which was he in the second film? I don't remember, because was he in the second film? Listen, that film was all over the place. There was like all these Autobots, because there was more time focusing on Bumblebee with mud flap and skids or sidewide whatever. But here he's in it, but he dies, and there was like also no reaction, because Ironhide, I guess people liked Ironhide, especially in the first film. Oh, you feel lucky, punk. He dies, and there's like barely no reaction, not even from Optimus Prime, really enough. Optimus Prime wasn't even like shocked to see his his comrade die. I'm like, he was like staring, but like, come on, Optimus Prime, he was your comrade. Show a little more. No. No, barely, hardly any reaction from that. Just like how barely reaction to Shia LaBeouf assumed that they were dead, when they got blew up. So now they know that he's been betrayed. They run away. Well, that's what they got. That's what they got into. That's what they got into the rocket before. If that was beforehand. So they set these beams up, which all these beams to help bring down their home, Cybertron. But very conveniently, because I think Patrick Dempsey is the one who told Rosie, "Oh, this is one pillar. They're called pillars, not beams, but pillars. It's the one beam that's right here in Chicago. Is the main pillar that controls that." So, but yeah, even though Patrick Dempsey was stupid enough to tell that to her, though. Why would you tell that to her in the first place? And second thing, it's very convenient that it's right where they're at. So, but they get to the Chicago, one will lead to another. But Shia LaBeouf, with the help of Tyrese Gibson and Shockwave. There's Shockwave and there's Soundwave. Soundwave was the car that Patrick Dempsey had. Shockwave is one has like the drilling snake-like things. As we see in the trailer, that Shia LaBeouf and Tyrese Gibson, they're in his other former soldiers, they're in the building. That's when the thing is wrapping around and the building is tilting. Which it is a good stunt work and a good set piece, right? Where everything is tilting, falling sideways. They're sliding, right? It is some good stunt work. I'll give it that. So, and then Josh Duhamel and his other men come in. Like they fly on those hand gliding suits. They fly in on those. And then it turns out that the Autobots are not dead. So Optimus Prime has his jetpack, and once again, he does get a badass moment. He's like twirling, swinging his sword around, cutting up Decepticons in half. But then he's getting his ass kicked by Sentinel Prime, That's another thing. He gets badass moments, but then he has always ends up getting his ass kicked. This time he's getting beat up by Sentinel Prime, and then by the time Shia LaBeouf is fighting with Patrick Dempsey, um, the pillar doesn't get turned on, but Patrick Dempsey, he turns it back on, and Shia LaBeouf hits him with like a piece of concrete and hits him, and he gets knocked to the pillar and he gets electrocuted. So, and then and because that, Cybertron like implodes and disintegrates up and back into the sky, and now their home is gone. Oh, and Megatron, he gets basically told, Rosie, he basically just a human just tells a Decepticon, the leader of the Decepticons, Megatron, what to do. She's basically telling Megatron, well, you're here, and while Sentinel Prime, he's the one who has all the power. And any minute now, you'll be nothing but Sentinel Prime's bitch. So, basically, Megatron gets a verbal smack by a lowly human, but he does like, you know, he does help. Well, in the brief moment, helps Optimus by getting Sentinel Prime for a bit, shooting him, like almost like ripping him out. But then, and by this time also, Optimus Prime, Sentinel Prime cuts one of Optimus's arms off. and then afterwards, Optimus just easily kills Megatron easily. I'm like, how difficult it was to beat him in the previous two films, but he can do it with one arm easily. Probably if he did it with one arm probably in the last two films, he probably would have killed Megatron easily. But here, one arm decapitates Megatron easily. And then he shoots Sentinel Prime. It's like Leonard Nimoy was like, Optimus, all I ever wanted was the survival of our race. You could see why I had to betray you. And then Peter calling Optimus like, you didn't betray us. You betrayed yourself. No, Optimus! Shoots him dead. Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy. You know, I think Leonard Nimoy, he did a good job voicing as Sentinel Prime. It was always nice to hear Leonard Nimoy. So afterwards, and then weirdly enough, though, after all that's said and done, like all the remaining humans are standing together, probably hardly even saying anything to each other. They just look up and stare, like so. While Optimus Prime gets his usual epilogue at the he does it as he does at the end of every movie. You know, there's more to it than meets the eye. He says that every single time. There's more to it than meets the eye. You know, I'm Optimus Prime, blah blah blah. You know, I send this message, blah blah blah. But it's like weird how I think they shot a different ending for this movie, which is fine. I find it kind of weird. But this ending was a bit different. I think by the different ending, which they cut out, it's like Megatron declares a truce with the Autobots. I think so. Although it kind of seems like it's kind of weird, though, because after all the humans that Megatron murdered, oh, now there's a truce and everything's fine. That seems just kind of a weird type of ending, you know, for especially add a character for Megatron, you know. Which, by the way, Hugo Weaving, I forgot to mention Hugo Weaving once again voicing Megatron. I tried to mention the other review, so Hugo Weaving, he does what he can. Like I said, same with the other people. But it seemed like an out of place characteristic for Megatron to declare a truce with the Autobots. I don't know why I just did that. Probably because that ending probably left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know why. But yeah, I think they exploited that in a comic book, I think, which gave that ending away. Maybe that's why they took this ending out of it and made it with this ending. If someone knows, please tell me in more detail. I think that's pretty much what it is. But overall, yeah. But everyone's just basically standing, just not saying anything. Really enough. And then and as the credits are going, you have another song once again by Linkin Park. Let It Go. Let it go. Let it go. Once again, good song from Linkin Park, and once again, I gotta say, rest in peace to Chester Bennington. So I gotta say, yeah, I am a fan of Linkin Park. So, and sad about Chester Bennington, but he was a good singer, so I enjoy all the songs. And of course, I mentioned "Powerless" when he sang at the end of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. To me, that's my favorite song of the band. Powerless, powerless. And of course, I mentioned Chester Bennington, his cameo in the seventh Saw film, Saw 3D, when he was in that car trap. If anyone remembers, just pointing out. But yeah, man. And these films are just so long. I mean, just yeah, there were some pauses like I said before, but overall I'm just not a fan of these sequels. I am not. And Age of Extinction and then Last Night, they just got worse. They did. Probably like I say, if I were to rank right now, I would probably say the first Transformers film, the first one from 2007. I would probably say this is the best one, and then probably I'll rank of the live action films because I'm not counting the new animated one. I'm talking about the live action ones. I'll probably rank this first, and then Bumblebee, which yeah I like, even though despite John Cena being in it though. I like Bumblebee. And then if I were to rank, maybe I'd put this one above it. Put this one next. And then Revenge of the Fallen. And then Age of Extinction. And then Last Night. Because I think Last Night is the worst one. And then Age of Extinction. But man, they just had to be... They're so long. They did not need to be over 2.5 hours long. Age of Extinction was, like I said, it was close to 3 hours. 2 hours and 45 minutes to be exact, I think. Man. But like I said, the Transformers are barely their own. It's only, like I said, it's cheaper to focus on the human characters. That's what I think, because it costs more. Every time they show the Autobots, it costs more to the budget. That's why it's cheaper to film with the human characters. And also, it's a product, let's say. And also, these are good product placements because they also, not only that, it's to sell toys as well because it's Hasbro. But it just, Shia LaBeouf, I'm like, times he just, I can see why he just looked like he did not want to be in this film. Which, yeah, because this is the third film he's done, and after this he's not in it, so I think after this he's done. That's why it looks like he didn't want to be in this movie. So he was feeling, to me, he looked just like blasé, I would say. His acting was blasé, I would say. I did not give a shit about Rosie, the new girlfriend. I did not care about her at all. Josh Duhamel, once again, and Tyrese Gibson have barely given little to do, once again. John Turturro, I mean, he was much lesser than he was in the previous films. But I think John Turturro is still a good actor, but he did what he can. Alan Tudyk, I just don't buy him with, like, a Russian accent. I don't. He's another good actor. I love Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, but give him what he was given to do. Patrick Dempsey, I like as well. He was also given what he had to do. John Malkovich, another great actor. He was as goofy as... He was goofy as fuck, I mean, just... And I don't care about Ken Jeong. I don't. I only did not mind him in the first Hangover, but I just don't... Overall, I'm not a fan of him as an actor overall. So, especially the humor we was given, it was also cringe-inducing, especially in the bathroom scene. Overall, I'm not a fan of Ken Jeong. The voice actors, like Peter Cullen, he was still once again as good as Optimus Prime. Hugo Weaving, he was there. I mean, afterwards, he's not the voice of Megatron afterwards, so... But he was still there. It was nice to hear Leonard Nimoy once again, rest in peace to him. I forgot to mention Starscream. See, that's how much overall I don't care about this film, let alone it's all, like, almost all over the place like the last one. Starscream. I forgot to mention Starscream. Not even Autobot kills Starscream, it was Sam. Shia LaBeouf, he's the one who basically killed Starscream. Because he took out one of his eyes, because he had him, he took one of his eyes, he planted this bomb in his other eye, and I think what was it, the other eye, it was not I think was it Optimus Prime who saved. It was Josh Duhamel, because Josh Duhamel was also helping out Shia LaBeouf, and they both fall as Starscream blows up, and they catch both of them, which both of them should have been dead. The way they fall and how the way the impact being grabbed, you know. But yeah, for Starscream, I forgot about Starscream. That's how forgettable he was in this movie. I mean, it did take a little bit. It did take a little more of a serious threat. Like I said, when they get to Chicago, how the way they're killing people, like disintegrate them, just like in War of the Worlds. But the parents, like Kevin Dunn and Julie White, they were barely in it though. But it was nice to see Kevin Dunn once again. And Bumblebee once again talking through the radio, not talking normally. Like I said, it was so annoying. And all the ideas, like, they just pull out of their ass because, oh, like, this stuff, oh, we didn't mention this before because it's a new movie, so we had to put in new stuff. Like I said, the first film was the Allspark. Second film, the Matrix of Leadership. This film, the Ark. And the score, once again, by Steve Jablonsky, is just basically the same as the previous ones. So, and Michael Bay, there is still some practical stuff that's like a typical Michael Bay movie, like explosions and stuff. Yes, I'll still give it that. And like I said, that when the building is tilting and like the stunt work, when they're sliding and stuff, I give the nice set pieces and good stunt work. I would give it that too. But overall, just once again, this film just seeing it now again, it just sucks. Like the last one, Friends of the Fallen. But Age of Extinction and Last Night, they just those have gotten worse. Man, see how much I'm getting drained right now because like these films are so long, you know. But Age of Extinction and Last Night, they're just much worse, much worse. Even Revenge of the Fallen, I would say, was better. Revenge of the Fallen was better than those two. Much as I give it that. So yeah, but Dark of the Moon. Like I said, you should just call it Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, I know, it sounds stupid when we call it Dark of the Moon, but Dark Side of the Moon sounds much better title. Best action movie ever? No, I disagree with that. So, but anyway, that's Transformers 3, Dark of the Moon. To me, Dark Side of the Moon sounds better. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Oh boy, Age of Extinction. Man, it's. I'll get to that though, but it's just like both of those films, next ones, Last Night and Age of Extinction, they're just getting worse. But see you in the next movie review. Later.